Hey everyone, welcome to the Diabetes Unlocked podcast. I'm Tom.
And I'm Christelle. In between us, we have over 60 years of experience living with type 1 diabetes.
And in this episode, we'll be sharing our real life experience with Freestyle Libre 3 Plus.
We've both tested quite a few of these sensors, so we'll give you the full download of how well we like them, what worked, what didn't really work, and also some of the changes that are coming to these sensors.
That's right. So if you're curious about Freestyle Libre 3 or just want to hear a real life, unfiltered conversation of two people who used it in real life, then you're in the right place. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. I like it. A little bit like snappy fingers here. It's funny because you and I have both worn CGMs for quite a while, so continuous glucose monitors. I got my first one. I didn't get it. I bought it. I bought my first one, I think, in 13, 15-ish. I know I say it in other videos, so I should know the year, but I keep forgetting. But I mean, it's at least been 10 years plus. And I started out wearing the Medtronic, and then I switched over to the Dexcom, and I've also tried Libre 2, Libre 3, and now Libre 3 Plus that we're talking about today. And you showed the little box. I'll show this. I also have a box. We're both sharing that one. This is not my everyday sensor, Libre 3 Plus, but I tried 2 months of supply. So that's what I've been using, and that's kind of what I based my experience off for the Libre 3. So that is, well, 4 sensors. How about you? How many have you been through by now?
Yeah, me too. Exactly 4. And I got 2 here from Europe, from Germany, and I got another 2 from the US because I wanted to see if there are any differences. There actually are some slight differences between the US experience and the European experience. And I also finished 4 by now. And it's also, Freestyle Libre 3 is also not my daily driver. I was using it along with Dexcom G6, which I use for my loop, connected to an insulin pump. So I was mostly using the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus on side. And my experience was really like the standalone CGM. And I think that's what you did as well. But I know that you actually did like a head-to-head comparison of Libre 3 Plus with Dexcom G7, so I think you have an interesting perspective on these 2 best of kind CGMs on the market, which hopefully you will share some of that with us.
Have all the boxes. So I did a month comparison where I wore both sensors at the same time to get exactly to your point, an idea of how does it perform up against a G7, how does it feel to wear it, how accurate is it, all of these things. So all of that I'll be weaving into our conversation today. But I think overall, we should probably pause up real quick. Here in the States, Freestyle Libre 3 Plus is going to be replacing Freestyle Libre 3 as of September. I think it's September 25th, 2025. Is that the same in Europe?
Some countries, yes. So I know UK, here in Switzerland, Libre 3 Plus is replacing Libre 3 and 2 Plus is replacing Libre 2, and they are discontinuing Libre 2 and Libre 3 around the same time. Some countries are end of August, some countries end of September. So, every country is slightly different from what I've seen. But I know there are also countries where they don't even have Libre 3 Plus yet. So in those countries, obviously, I hope they will not be discontinuing Libre 3 or Libre 2. So we don't want to alarm anybody. I think the countries who are always the first ones to get a new product, who have the Libre 3 Plus, most of them I've seen are replacing Libre 3. So that's similar to the US.
Yeah, I don't think Libre 3 is in Australia yet, is it? I feel so bad for the Australians. I mean, they always get products so late. Whenever I post anything, they're like, maybe we'll see it in 5 years. But to your point, if you don't have Libre 3 yet, it's not going to be replaced, obviously. But I think also the important thing is the reason why they're discontinuing Libre 3 and Libre 2 is not because it's a bad product. It's not because there's something wrong with the product. They just have the Plus versions now. And as far as I understand, at least, it's an upgraded product, and they're like, okay, let's just replace it. Does that jive with your understanding?
Yeah. I think it's a better product because it has a few extra features. It also have a nicer box with this butterfly here, which is like the new style of Freestyle Libre now. And there is also a new app that has this new design. So like actually, this is the first thing you see when you get the package in your hand. You don't even need to experience the sensor, and you see, okay, this is a nice fancy packaging. But then the actual changes are not so significant to Libre 3. Like now the Libre 3 Plus is a 15-day sensor, so you can use it one extra day compared to Libre 3. When we compare that to Dexcom G7 is a 10-day sensor, but I think it got also approved for a 15-day use from what I've seen, and not so long ago. So at some point, both of them will be a 15-day sensor.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Dexcom is 15 days plus 12-hour warm-up. So actually, if you see their marketing campaign, they're like, we're going to be the longest duration sensor because they have that 12 hours addition. Generally, we're going towards these type of CGMs, the ones that you insert yourself at home, are going towards a 15-day wear time. So, okay, so that's the first change. I think that's a major one in my book, at least, that it's going to be a 15-day, that it is a 15 days. It's not going to be, it already is a 15-day sensor. And I was kind of like, well, we do need to talk about the app, obviously, but I think the other big update you mentioned was the age was approved for.
Yeah, so Libre 3 Plus officially is now for 2 years and older, and the Libre 3 was for 4 years and older. So if someone has a child who is 2 years old, 3 years old, and they can now use it on label. I think some people might have been using it off label if like somebody prescribes that to a younger child, but now it's official, let's say, or on label. I don't know if that was the right wording. I think that's it. But that's also not a major change, I think. Nothing really changes with the sensor. The sensor is still kind of the same. But I think a bigger change is the insulin pump integration, so that the Libre 3 Plus and Libre 2 Plus as well, they have the ability to work with an insulin pump and in a hybrid closed loop environment. So that's actually a major change for people who are on a pump and who want to loop. And so I think that's great that Libre is finally getting more active in this space and working already with some insulin pumps, and that's really great to see. And I think we should talk about the not only what's on the paper, but also what we experienced, how we we experienced the product, especially because you were comparing it head to head to Dexcom G7. I think there are some interesting points to bring up there. So we mentioned 15 days. So did it last 15 days? Like, did you make it with your 4 sensors, Crystal? Did you make it to day 15? Like, were you able to use it for 60 days total, 4 times 15, or not really?
So that's the thing. So I had 2 sensors that just stuck on for the full 15 days. It was beautiful. It was amazing and no issues whatsoever. And I was so pumped and I was ready to write my review. I was like, this is amazing. And then, of course, the next one was like, fell off at day 11, got snagged. So I wore them per FDA clearance on the back of the arm, which is not my favorite placement for a CGM at all. I prefer to wear it on my abdomen. It doesn't get snagged on things. So I had a very mixed experience. I feel like 15 days, you definitely need to put an overlay tape on. And the interesting thing is that Freestyle Libre 3 Plus is approved to be worn without an overlay tape. So that was not super ideal. I did have some issues with the sensor being wonky at times. To be completely fair, any sensor will have these issues. And I think wearing Dexcom G7 as well as Freestyle Libre 3 Plus at the same time, I could see that because I would be annoyed with one sensor and the other one would be doing well. And then all of a sudden it's the other sensor that was like acting up. To be fair, all sensors will have issues. I think the big deal breaker for me, and I'm saying this very early in the video, I know, but the big deal breaker for me when it comes to Freestyle Libre 3 Plus is that when it is inaccurate, which it was, there's nothing I can do. That frustrates the heck out of me because then I just have to, I did also have one sensor that was so inaccurate. It was 60 milligrams per deciliter difference from my finger stick. And I did finger sticks at the times where you're supposed to, like when blood sugars are flat, when I hadn't eaten. So it shouldn't be that much of a difference. And the only thing I could do ultimately was call Dexcom's customer service, have a longer conversation with a person, telling them I did this finger stick. the CGM, the Freestyle Libre 3 said this. I did this finger stick at this time. The Libre said this. So I had to give her, I think, blood sugar measurements with times. And she's like, yeah, you're right. It sounds really inaccurate. I was like, yeah, I told you. And then they send me a replacement. Right?
So what was your replacement from, you said you called Dexcom. I know that was
Sorry.
well, they should have been Abbott, but I know you didn't realize they are saying Dexcom. It was just funny if Dexcom sent you a G7 to replace it.
No,
But
I don't think they would do that. But no, the conversation was with the rep at Abbott that ultimately sent me, agreed that this is very inaccurate. And it kind of, changed my perspective, because when I did my side-by-side comparison, I wore the 3 first sensors. Oh, at that one, I hadn't had that really inaccurate sensor experience. And I actually just finished a pure Libre 3 Plus review. And for that one, I was like, okay, now I have four sensors I can include in this experience. One fell off and one was completely wonky. And then all of a sudden I have, out of 4 sensors, 50% of them were not working for me.
not ideal. So 2 of them worked really well and 2 of them not ideal. So one of them, did you knock it off on day 11 or did it just fall off on its own?
No, I
Or
know.
was it you? Okay.
I think I don't know, I sleep aggressively. I don't know. I bounce around when I sleep and I pull it off in my sleep. So it was like half pulled off. And then it was kind of like sitting there a little, and I was like, okay, is it actually pulled off or not? It's just kind of like a little bit lifted. And I was like, if I could just sort of like push it gently, maybe it'll just stick there. And then after a while, it was just like failure, replacement needed. Something. I don't remember what the failure code said. So I would say, okay, so to summarize, my experience with the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus has been very mixed. When it comes to it sticking on, when it comes to accuracy, and when it comes to sticking on and accuracy. I think those are
calibration. You were complaining about not being able to calibrate it.
I was complaining about that, yeah, because that's annoying.
Yeah, it's funny because my experience is, in a way, similar, but in a way, it's like very different. I didn't have any of them. Like, I didn't knock off any of them, and I actually thought, I haven't used Libre for a while, and like, I'm using Dexcom G6 still. It's my daily driver is Dexcom G6, and it's Dexcom G6. Where is it? It's a huge sensor. It's like when you compare it to Libre 3 Plus, it's really huge, and you kind of know more often that it's there because you lie on it at night and you can kind of feel it, or you're putting the t-shirt on and you need to be kind of careful not to do something with it or not to knock it off. But with this small one, Libre 3 Plus, I thought, oh, this is actually so small. I don't know if it's there and I'm not knocking into something. Like, I didn't really know about it almost. So I was really, really excited how small it is and how small it feels and how discreet, and you just don't know about it. I think that's great. I think it's great that they can have this, basically the same technology in such a lot smaller design. I know when you compare it to G7, it's also smaller. It's not that significantly smaller than when I'm comparing to G6, but I really like how small it is. And I think it's just amazing that we can have such a small thing doing such a great job. And with accuracy, I didn't have the kind of experience you had, that I would actually be calling customer service because it was so much off that I could not really use it. But I had little things here and there that I was not excited about. First 2-3 days, I feel all of the sensors, or at least half of them, were on like a lower end of the readings, and like, let's say 20-25% below my finger prick or below my Dexcom. And then they caught up on day like 2-3. They caught up and they were on point, and they were on point the whole time, which I was really, really, really happy because any Libres I had years ago, they were not doing that well, and these were really well. So I was super happy with how it stayed on. I was super happy with accuracy. The only little complaint I have about accuracy is sometimes it's actually Libre 3 Plus is super real time, I feel, because the readings update every minute, and I feel the algorithm is really fine tuned. So it's trying to catch on any changes, like rapid changes in the glucose really fast. So when I when I eat something that's sugary and my blood sugar really spikes up or shoots up, I feel like the sensor really catches that very quickly, like a lot faster than Dexcom G6, for example. I just see, and sometimes, and that's the complaint I have, it's almost overreacting to the actual change. You know what I mean? So it's like spiking up so much, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm really spiking up so fast. If I don't do anything, I'll be 300 in 10 minutes, and then a minute, 2, 3 minutes, 5 minutes later, it kind of stabilizes, and I realized, okay, I'm actually not going up that fast, and the sensor was like kind of overreacting. And I thought I had similar issues with the G7. I feel like the companies are trying to make the new products like super real time, and it's kind of like at the expense of sometimes overreacting. I don't know if it's just me seeing it this way. I know I'm getting a bit sidetracked here, but I feel like the more real time they try to be, the more like a mistake they make, maybe with the algorithm makes a mistake, like overreacting to the actual glucose change. So that's my only complaint about accuracy, and I just have to, okay, take a step back. Okay, look at the arrow. Is the arrow really like 2 arrows up or 2 arrows down, or is the arrow still straight or just like slightly going up, and just the number is freaking out, but then it will come back down. So I had to look a lot on the arrow to kind of figure out, okay, what's really happening. Did you see something like this as well, or not really?
Yes and no. And my first question is, so when you see this, where you see it shoot up, do you then do a finger stick to check? And then you saw that your finger sticks, based on the finger sticks, actually wasn't that high? Is that what you're saying?
So when it happened first time, I would just do a finger prick, and I was like, okay, so maybe I ate, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, I ate a banana or like fruit, some sort of fruit that I would expect, okay, that will spike me. But then, in 10 minutes, I was suddenly, or 5 minutes, I was suddenly from, 120 to 180. And I'm like, this cannot be happening so fast. And when I did the finger prick, I would be, at 150, for example. And then the CGM would come back to, I don't know, 160, 165 in another, 3-4 minutes. So it was clearly like overreacting. And when I did the finger prick, I could see it. And so and that happened, that didn't happen once, that happened quite a few times. So what I did after that, I just look at my Dexcom, and if Dexcom was like doing nothing, I was like, okay, so maybe just Libre is just overreacting. But then the Dexcom was late, because Dexcom should have been at 150, but it was still maybe at 130, and Libre was already at 200. So then I had both of them. I'm like, okay, I'm somewhere in the middle, it's fine. And then both of them kind of landed in the middle in 5-10 minutes later, So that's how I approached it. I kind of wait. I think sometimes to wait when it seems weird is also a good thing to do.
It's a good strategy for sure. It's funny because when I wore both of them, I also used them to sort of like reality check between the two sensors. So in Freestyle Libre 3 plus updates every minute, Dexcom G7 only updates every 5 minutes. So there, of course, there's going to be a difference there. Also, because we're not measuring it in the blood, we're measuring it in the fluid underneath the skin. There's another 10-minute delay, blah, 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 all these things, right? But I found, opposite of you, I found that on average, my blood sugars, when I measured them doing a finger prick, were actually lower than what my Freestyle Libre said. Funny enough, they were higher than my Dexcom. So I was kind of like figuring out that I would be somewhere in the middle. So it's always like, do you want a CGM that gives you a little bit of a higher reading than you actually are, or a little bit lower? So there's that. Did find that the first 2-3 sensors were, as long as it stayed on the body, was super accurate. And when I say super accurate, for the most part, it was like within 5 to 10 milligrams per deciliter from my finger sticks, which is stellar. That's accuracy. I consider anything, the plus minus 20% from a finger stick to be accurate. I think Dexcom has a beautiful chart on their website that I usually go by. So I would say one thing that I found really interesting, though, was that I use inhaled insulin, Afrezza. Afrezza works super fast. We talked about Afrezza before. It starts to work in the system instantly, not instantly, within a few minutes. Whereas injected insulin takes longer time. Libre could not. It got like all tripped up about that. So first, my blood sugars, how was it? My blood sugars came down, then it lost signal, then it so basically freaked out. And it's like, I don't know what to do here. Blood sugars are changing too fast. It then came back with a deadly low blood sugar, which was not the case. And then it took a little while, and then it came back to sort of where my blood sugars were actually at. So that really rapid change of blood sugar was too much for that one, whereas the Dexcom could actually follow along, which might be the 1 minute to the 5 minutes, I don't know, or it's just they don't really seem to be calibrated for rapid changes like that. And I don't think you see changes like that unless you take in a Afrezza.
It seems to me that you are kind of like almost describing what I was trying to describe, just the other way around. So I was describing like a rapid rise in blood sugar, and you're describing like a quick drop because you took very, very fast acting insulin.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like this must be, algorithm is to blame rather than the actual sensor, because they probably like know nothing about, how this actually all the technicals, how the CGM works. But I assume there is always some way to interpret the data, and maybe how the algorithm is trained is just not trained on such rapid changes, and maybe that's why it just fails or gives you like an error for a few minutes, just because the change is so fast that it cannot crunch the change. And when that upgrades every minute, it's like even more, it can look even more weird what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And I was describing it on the way up, and you were describing it on the way down. And yeah, I just feel sometimes they're trying to be more real time, or like somehow work around the fact, okay, the sensor is taking the interstitial fluid readings, which is always delayed behind the blood readings. So let's do something to, get that difference in time like a little bit shorter, have the lag a little bit shorter. And I guess you can only do it by, training the algorithm in a certain way. Maybe that doesn't work in 100% of the cases. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong in my assumption. I'm no engineer or anything like that. But I feel like it's reasonable explanation.
Yeah. I mean, it couldn't keep up. I would say another situation where it had a hard time keeping up was when I do these dance classes. I don't do them. I take these dance classes. I don't lead them. I just dance, which is really high intensity cardio. And for those, it would also bleep out, which was incredibly frustrating because when I'm doing any cardiovascular activity, that's when I need my CGM, right? That's when I need the security of, where am I going? And that was frustrating, to say the least. But I'm also now cherry picking all the bad moments. I realize that. Again, the majority of the time, it was really accurate. And I want to go back to what you were saying about how well it's stuck. Again, the two first ones, it's amazing because it's such a tiny little sensor, and the tape footprint is hardly larger than the actual sensor. There's not a lot of tape. And so for those watching, Tom is showing you one. Look at the screen. It really, really stuck on me. It peeled a little, but it's still stuck, right? Except for the one that I managed to violently pull off somehow. So I think that was really interesting. I did not have any skin reaction to the tape despite wearing it for 15 days. I did not put an overlay tape on. Another complaint. I sound like a big complainer right now. But another complaint from me.
Before you complain, you said it's stuck on really well. And I think it's worth noting, like again, comparing it to Dexcom G7, because I think it's a reasonable thing to compare to something that's kind of similar product. I think the G7 adhesive, that they had before was really not so great. The new one they have now also sticks really well. And I feel like they're very similar or comparable. And I think they both have very good adhesive. Like it's something we should probably acknowledge. And when I personally use an overtape, it's just to add like extra layer of comfort, just to when I'm about to do something that's like more like contact sport or go swimming on day 11 of the sensor, I will put the overtape on just to have additional protection. But I feel like with Libre 3, before you're going to complain, I don't need it. Like even swimming, showering, it would stay on for me personally.
And this has been actually my complaint from Libre 3 as well, which is basically the same sensor. And that is the thickness of that filament that sits underneath the skin. Can you show that as well, Tom? Because I don't have one right here. I don't think I have.
The filament, this?
Yeah. So that one,
If
the little,
would be,
okay,
but
so the little sensor thingy that sits underneath the skin on the Libre is just a little thicker than it is on Libre. Wow, on Dexcom G7. For most people, this is not going to be an issue at all. Right? For most people, it's not going to matter. I have that kind of skin tone where I just scar really easily, and unfortunately, that leaves me scars. It's, again, is it going to like ruin my world? No. But is it annoying to have like little scars all over my arms? Yes. So I wish that that one wasn't as big. Also, I do feel like the insertion of the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus is a little bit more intense. Let's use that word, intense, than it is for Dexcom G7.
okay, explain that.
Okay, so insertion is very similar for the two products. You screw off the cap, and then you push either a button, or you just push the inserter against your arm and it inserts the sensor. So I feel like process-wise, they're both fairly straightforward. There's some small additions to how straightforward they are. Sometimes it can be really hard to push the button on the Dexcom inserter, for example. For me, I haven't had an issue inserting the Libre 3, but I do feel like there's a little bit more, let's say, pressure, because it's not actually pain, but inserting the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus, it's more of a, when the whole body is
Yeah.
I don't know, my cutting those I was just listening. Say that again.
Because you need to like actively press on the whole thing. With Dexcom, you press the button. Here you need to actively press, and it's kind of like more. It feels more invasive. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not more invasive. It's the exact same thing. Like the filament is going under your skin. But I guess I know. I guess that's what you're trying to say. If I get it right, is it?
Well, it's again, it's not. I wouldn't say either of them are painful as such to insert. I know a lot of people, when they reach out to me, they're like, does it hurt? And yes, once in a while, it's going to hurt. 99% of the time, I don't think I don't think it hurts. I do think I can feel when the Libre 3 goes in, though. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's not pain as much as it's kind of like, it's just a bigger thing going in your arm, so you can feel it. Well, at least I can.
That's interesting. I've never thought about this. I've never realized this. And I didn't check how thick the filament is. I'm sure you are quite right that you...
I know what you'll be doing after this chat.
Definitely. I'm asking Dexcom here, otherwise I would have already checked. But I've never thought about it. I've actually been experiencing some sensation with my CGMs lately, and I don't know why, because it's never been the case for me. It never hurts when I put it on. It only hurt when I put it in the wrong spot, like just too close to a muscle.
Yeah.
It happened to me a few times that it did hurt, but lately I've been feeling a sensation with my Dexcom G6, totally unrelated to Libre 3 Plus. And when I was telling you earlier that I was in Brazil last month, and when I was on the airplane to Brazil, like it was an overnight flight. The whole night I could feel like a little bit of like pain in my, where the spot where G6 was placed, but there was no blood, nothing, and it was, day 5, 6 of the sensors, like totally random. And then I had the same thing with another sensor, in 2 weeks. I don't know why, I don't know what's happening, but it was kind of like a bit painful, almost like an insulin pump type of painful when you put it in the wrong spot. Just don't know what's happening. But I never experienced it on the insertion, just like on day 5, 6. No, not sure why. Not sure what's happening. Maybe it's just me.
I could find with a larger sensor.
Let us know in the comments.
I do. So I used to wear a Dexcom G6, and this, I remember, because it's so big, if you put a lot of pressure on it, actually the edges of the the plastic edge could kind of almost bother me. Yeah. So afterwards, I would have almost like a little bit of a irritate the skin or something like that. Yeah, like a stamp, exactly. So I don't feel I have that with Libre 3 Plus. Actually, I wish that I hadn't had that Freestyle Libre 3 Plus that I had to have in place, and I wish I had that one fall off, because I do think it's a really good product. And I know it's kind of the most widely available one as well. So I don't want anyone listening thinking, hey, this doesn't work. at all, because I do think it does. But I also think we have to be mindful that CGMs, and this goes for any CGM, will not be accurate all the time. And saying it's a replacement or saying that it completely replaces Fingersticks is such a big lie that annoys the heck out of me, because yes, it replaces a lot of Fingersticks, but not all of them. And I feel like we should still be doing spot checks. And that goes for all of them. Spot checks meaning like doing a fingerstick once in a while just to see if our CGM is still in the right ballpark.
I agree. Sometimes you just have to do a finger prick to feel in control, or at least I have to do that. But when I was a teenager, I didn't have a CGM and I didn't do finger pricks, and I felt totally fine. So I guess it also depends on the life stage and everything, where everyone is at.
Yeah.
But let's talk. I mean, I think we covered accuracy. I mean, we don't have to go into like what's the mean absolute relative difference and stuff like that, because the numbers are like okay for all the CGMs on the market, I feel like. But I wanted to talk a bit more, like, because you mentioned you lost, or the sensor would not give you readings, Libre 3 Plus, when you took Afrezza and like your blood sugar was going down relatively fast. Were there any other times where you lost signal, like or was it reliable, not in terms of accuracy but more in terms of like the Bluetooth connection between the sensor and your phone? I assume you were using a phone.
I was using the app on the phone. We should talk about the app though, because the app is pretty dope, the new app. I had actually quite a few lost signal or signal error with the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus compared to Dexcom, a lot more. So it would often, and again, I was wearing them on the same arm. So the phone would at all time be the same amount of space away. And it would cut out. It would come back though, right? There was one point where I had 6 hours, I think, without a reading, which I think is unacceptable.
Yeah.
But that was also the one that ended up being completely wacko. So that sensor was just not doing well from the beginning. But it was a little on and off, I'd say.
Okay.
What's your experience?
It lost a signal a few times, and I wasn't quite sure why, because I felt like the phone was close enough, because officially the reach should be 33 feet, which is like 10 meters. That's really far. You know, the sensor, even 10 meters away from the phone, it should still be able to send the signal, assuming there's no walls and stuff like that. And usually it does, but a few times I was close enough. I was like in the same room. I was, not that I had my whole body in between these two things, but then I was still lost connection. And it didn't happen enough times for me to like mention it in the review or for it to be significant. But when I was like looking at my notes before we recorded this, I thought I would ask you, because it happened a few times, and I also felt like it's losing the signal more than Dexcom G6 or G7, or at least the updated version of.
Yes, we should say that, because in the beginning, when they first released Dexcom G7, it was a nightmare, and it was like, your body is between me and the phone, and it would flub out. Yeah. No, absolutely new version for sure. For sure. But I mean, overall, I think I would have liked to have a little bit more. This is talking a little bit about the app as well. So the functionality. So first of all, I think that CGMs, we're going to go towards them being more, we're already seeing it now. They're becoming more and more similar. Libre 3 Plus, Dexcom G7, they kind of look at alike. You know, Dexcom is a little larger, but not by much. They're getting to that flatter, rounder shape. There are other CGMs on the market, I know, but now we're talking about the two like superpowers within CGM, right? If I shake the table, I think that we're going to go towards the CGMs being sort of a commodity, and what's going to be the real differentiator is going to be the app functionalities and what else could have sort of surrounds the actual CGM. So I do think it's important that we talk about alerts and that we talk about the app, because one of the things that I didn't really realize that I was missing was the not just you're going low or you're going high, but the one's telling you, hey, it's going to happen kind of soon. And you don't get those alerts, at least not with the US version of the Freestyle Libre 3 app. And I think you've tested both, right? Do you know, are they the same across the world, or are there slight changes?
I think the alerts are exactly the same for Libre 3. For Libre 3 Plus are exactly the same in the US and Europe. Like there's no difference in alerts. But just keep going. I'm gonna go quickly in the back, just pull up the reader because I wanted to show it, because I did not only use the app but also the reader. And you can talk about the app, just don't mind me. I'll be right back. I'll be still in the picture.
Really big updates is the Freestyle Libre app. And actually it's an app, it's not just for Freestyle Libre 3 Plus. You can also use it with Freestyle Libre 2 Plus. And basically just go into the App Store. If you're using iPhone, I guess that's the App Store. If you're using an Android, it's called something else. But there you just look it up. It's a Freestyle Libre. It's a black app and has the little butterfly. And it has updated functionalities. This is why I would want you all to go download it. You can't, if you're already wearing one sensor, you can't transfer it over to the new app. You have to wait until you start a new sensor. But that new app gives you a little bit more freedom in regards to when do you want alerts and when do you not, because you can silence all of your alerts, including the urgent lows, for up to 6 hours. And for example, when you're having a wonky sensor, sometimes it's nice to be able to just like shut it up and not get all of those faulty readings. And there might also be other situations where you don't want alerts for whatever reason.
And I think that's the biggest upgrade when you compare Freestyle Libre 3 app to this new app, which is called Libre. I'm not sure if you mentioned it, Libre by Abbott or something like that. That's really like, it is all like new kind, like fancy design. It looks nicer, cleaner, the new app, but it's kind of like everything is the same, maybe laid out slightly differently, a little bit more user-friendly. But the only actual upgrade or new feature is, I feel like, snoozing the alerts for up to 6 hours, which is a great upgrade. But I'm sorry, like, if you come up with a new app, why don't you like do a little bit more than that? I think it's just a bit lame. I don't know. But it's a great app. Download it. I mean, it's better than nothing. Or than the old app. And it's just one thing to say before people get mad. I think this app is only in the US and only the US App Store. So for my European sensors, when I was using them, I could not use the new app. It was just not.
I didn't know that.
Of course, I tried. Bummer. Because I try all the backdoors there are, but only the US sensors. And that's the reason why I actually got my hands on the US sensors, was because I wanted to experience the new app, which officially I'm not allowed to use. But I did anyway. So hopefully this will come to the other countries where you have the Libre 3 Plus or Libre 2 Plus, so that other people can use it. Because otherwise, I know they will not be happy.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. I thought it was global. My bad.
No, I think it's not a little bit
upgraded it.
I think it is supposed to be global, and it is supposed to work with all the Libre sensor versions, because I know other people tried for Libre 2 Plus, for Libre 2, Libre 3. This new app works with all the sensors, but it's just that it's only in the US right now for both iPhone and Android, but not in Europe yet.
But I guess I did is instead of having to release a new app every time there's a new version of the sensor, you just have one app so they can focus on hopefully making it a little better, because it would be nice with a little bit more customization.
Yeah. So maybe just in case someone from the company is listening, what customizations would you like to have, Crystal? Because I think you use alerts and alarms. They actually call it alarms in Libre environment. Dexcom call it alerts. But what alarms would you like to have? Because I don't really use them that much. I feel you have.
Oh yeah, you turn them off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, and I'm looking at it right now in the Libre one, we have silent mode. Again, that's up to 6 hours. That's fine. I think that's a good feature. Then you have urgent low glucose. That could be on or off. Low glucose alarm, high glucose alarm, and then signal loss. You can have those on and off. For example, what we have in some of the other apps, Dexcom G7, is that you can also be alerted of rapid dropping glucose or rapidly rising glucose. You can also customize it with your own you can also customize here with your own, with different alerts, sounds and stuff like that. But I think getting a warning before it's not like it's too late, but before it gets down to where it's critical, I think that would be ideal. You're not using any alarms at all? There's none of them where you're like, ugh, it would have been nice.
Well, I don't know. I think for someone who is on a closed loop that is well
Okay.
fine-tuned,
Yeah.
it's just like a additional mental burden that the loop handles on its own in 99% of the instances. I don't need that alert, and I was using alert quite heavily, and I had like a tight range. I had my high alert like 150 and low at 80, and I was getting alerts all the time at the levels, or situations that I didn't need one because I was not supposed to do anything. I was just supposed to wait. And at one point I turned off. It was, I think, even by mistake I turned it off. But then after some time I realized, okay, I don't really need them.
Yeah.
Okay, sometimes I go high and stay high a little bit longer than I would necessarily need to. But I just feel like the benefits I'm getting from not using them are just overweighting the disturbance.
But that's part also, and this is not to, just toot Dexcom's horn or anything like that. But Dexcom also has a delay first alert, which I use. I have that turned on because what that does is it won't give you so let's say your high is 150, like you said, and you just had a meal and you took your insulin, but you realize, oh, I forgot to pre-bolus. So I'm probably going to go high for a little bit before my blood sugars come down in range. You don't need an alert for that, right? You don't need to know that you went over 150 because you took your insulin. It's going to be fine, right? So what I have is for the Dexcom, I have my delayed alert set to an hour, meaning that I will only be alerted if my blood sugar is above my threshold for an hour, which I find super helpful. I find that alerts are great. The right alerts, let's say alerts are good. The right alerts are great, right? Because it needs to be customized for the person. So I think Libre is slowly moving towards a better app, and hopefully we'll see more updates.
So the main ones you would like to have, but at the beginning you said you would like to have a calibration feature, which I think
Yes.
It's also one thing that I also want. Like, I think this should be amazing. This is amazing and something that I'm like really missing in all Libre sensors. And then the other one you mentioned, okay, this is the first high or like the first high alert for 1 hour late. That's a delayed alert.
Delayed alert, yeah.
And then also just a notification a little bit before you cross that line for low or high alert, or like, is it the rate of change alert that you are using on Dexcom?
So there's rate of change. I don't actually use those. I don't use them myself, but I know some people find it really helpful, right? Because they don't. I might also be one of those people who keep checking my CGM readings a little bit too frequently. But if you're not, then it's beneficial to know, before things go haywire. I think those are the ones. But I don't want them hardwired in. I would want the opportunity to, not the opportunity, I wanted the option to turn them on if I need them.
Yeah, I understand. There's one more thing with the alarms on Freestyle Libre or Libre 3 Plus that I feel like is missing there. Although I'm not a heavy alarm user, it's like a snooze option or like a repeat option because you have this high alarm and low alarm. So just to give an example, especially with highs, I think this is something that's very helpful sometimes when you have your high alarm set, I don't know, at 200. So when you go above 200, you want to get an alarm so that you can take insulin to correct. And that's what Libre does really well. Like whenever you cross 200, you get an alarm, you can correct. Problem is, if you correct, but you don't go back to range, but you stay high, or you like keep going even higher, there is no reminder. And I think with Dexcom, you can program it. You can say how often you want to get the reminder, like in 1 hour or in 2 hours, do we want to get another reminder? You don't get this with Libre 3 Plus at all, which I think is something that is very helpful. And of course, you can get third-party apps, like the Sweet Dreams that I like to use, where you can do that, but it's like another basically third-party app that's not part of the Libre environment. That could be.
I wonder if they're still thinking of Libre as more of a people not on insulin type of CGM, because if you don't use insulin, your risk of a low blood sugar is very minimal. If you don't use insulin, again, there's not much you can do if you have a high blood sugar. So I can't help thinking that they're kind of stuck in the mentality of, we're making a product for people who just need the data to show the doctor at the other end, but maybe they go for a walk, but there's not much they can do themselves. That's kind of the feel I'm getting, at least.
But that should not be the case, because they have lingo, which is for people who don't have diabetes, and then when I think they were already supposed to release the Freestyle Rio or whatever it's called, which should be for people who are living with diabetes but don't take insulin. So Libre should actually be only like going forward, like in the future, this should be only for people with insulin, and especially with the plus versions, this is even like the insulin pump integration. So who else would it be using?
No, I'm just saying that
maybe
it's
they are in
like
that mindset. I don't know, but they shouldn't be.
True. And sometimes companies seem to get stuck.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. So that's about the app. I think we.
No, you ran on and you got the receiver. So let's see it.
Yeah, I brought it. So, I mean, the receiver is basically the same receiver that you can use for Libre 3. So Libre 3, Freestyle Libre 3 receiver works with both Libre 3 and Libre 3 Plus. If anyone has like the older ones, the blue one that was for Libre 2, this doesn't work with 3 Plus and so on. But it's doing basically the same thing. Like there's not, and I don't have an active CGM, so I can't really show anything. But I just wanted to show, okay, you can stay completely without the app. You can just use this. It has all the alarms. It has all the reports. It also updates real time as long as you have it on. I think I know that some people prefer this because you keep diabetes on just like one thing. If you don't bring your phone, you just bring this. Some people like to do it that way. And I kind of get it, because sometimes I don't want to bring my phone somewhere. I only bring the phone because I'm looping and I want to be connected to CGM and a pump. But I don't want to be distracted by the other things on the phone. And I think that's why it's, if someone that is not looping or is not using phone for other diabetes-related things, it might be nice to have this. Unfortunately, you cannot use phone and the reader. You have to choose. Like
There's only one Bluetooth.
When you activate, you have to choose, okay, will I be using phone or the reader? And whatever you activate with, then you have to stick with for the full life cycle. And that's only because the Bluetooth works, as you said, only with one device, with Libre 3 Plus. That's why you don't have Apple Watch, you don't have nothing. You just have a phone or a reader. And then for the pumps who allow the insulin pump integration, I don't know exactly how this is going to work, because I think there needs to be a way to still connect the phone app when you are integrating with an insulin pump, but I don't know how that works. So if someone is on Libre 3 Plus watching this already running like an AID system, then just let us know how this works. If you still have the phone app, and does it connect to both of the devices, or how does it work? Because I don't know that. Do you know, Crystal, by any chance?
I have no clue. I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, no, I thought so the interesting is the Dexcom G7 has up to 3 Bluetooth connections. To your point, you can also have it directly on your Apple Watch if you do have an Apple Watch. I haven't used the Freestyle Libre 3 receiver. I've used the Libre 2 receiver, and I've used the Dexcom G7 receiver. And the Dexcom G7 receiver is a little smaller than the Libre receiver, but again, it works the same way. I would say the only thing with that is if you want to share your data with your doctor, or if you want to go into Libre View, which I highly recommend that everybody do. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But if you want to do that, you have to manually upload it. So simply use a cable, plug it into your laptop or your MacBook or whatever, and then into the device and upload it. The Libre View is the software where you can see all of your reports, and it's really good. I think Libre View is really good. It's a really good way of getting an overview, quickly being able to see your trends and sort of gather a plan for what works and what doesn't work, so that you can make data-driven decisions, which I'm all about. Libre View.
Agreed. So one more thing about the app, because when I was watching your video where you were comparing Dexcom G7 and Libre 3 Plus, and one thing that you were not really complaining about it, but you are not super happy about one thing that they're doing, and I also don't love it. I mean, I would say hate it, is that when you have the screen where you have your graph and your number, you cannot zoom in on the graph. You always see like a 12-hour graph, and there's no way to go more into a detail. And like from Dexcom or basically any other CGM I'm used to, to be able to zoom in or like change 12 hours to 3 hours to just like see what's been happening for the past half an hour, like in a bit more detail, because it's everything is so stuck in there, or like
It's very compact.
it's very compact on the 12-hour view that you can't really see. So to be able to see what happened in the last 15 minutes, you need to look at the arrow. But for me, it's like so counterintuitive because I'm looking at the history. I want to look back, and looking at the arrow is like it's counterintuitive. But I had to like almost like reprogram my brain. Look at the arrow. Like, don't try to zoom in the graph. It will not zoom in. Or just, get another app, which I was using. That's why I was using the Sweet Dreams as well, because there you can do it and you can zoom in, and there's so many other features that you can use there.
Yeah. And so in Dexcom, you can even put your finger on the graph and it'll like, you can track it along and it'll tell you the exact blood sugar for that little dot and then the line. So again, I think you're right. It's one of those things, if you have experienced a version, a more like elaborate version, like kind of like the Dexcom G7, it can be hard to go to something that's maybe a little bit more, let's say, basic. Whereas I think, and it's also, to be fair, and I want to be fair. Again, I don't think Freestyle Libre 3 Plus is a bad product, but I am a Dexcom user. That is what I use on day-to-day basis. So that's what I'm used to. I know the ins and out of it. It's sort of what my brain is calibrated to. So I also think it's a little hard sometimes to do these side-by-side comparisons because, again, I'm comparing 4 sensors to years and years of using a different system. It makes it easier for us to go and sort of pinpoint things that we don't like.
Right.
But it might not always be 100% fair comparison either.
Right. So let's pinpoint the things that we liked. I mean, for me, I might have already said that. What I love about Freestyle Libre is how small and sleek it is. I really love it because just that the fact that it's small is kind of like sexy. You just look better. You look good when you have a smaller, like thinner sensor on you. The photos look better. I mean, I can't help myself. It's just like it's sexy. I think that's the word. And it's also kind of simple. Like, you don't have the complexities like with Dexcom, with all these alerts, for example. You can get like super nerdy and you can program it exactly to specific level, specific time. You have 2 different alert profiles. And it's just like, it requires extra work. Freestyle Libre, simple. Libre 3 Plus, simple. There's no way to do it even. So it's like for someone who's getting started, who just wants like a simple, good solution, I think it's a great way to go if someone has a choice and just doesn't want too complex, too many things to click around. I don't know what would you pinpoint like that you really liked about Freestyle Libre 3 Plus?
So taking it through from again, so I'm with you on the size of the sensor and how well it sticks. I've found that overall, again, out of 4, I only had 1 that fell off. So that's pretty good stats, I'm thinking. I did find that they're stuck really well. And I actually think that the insertion is easier with Libre. I think a lot of people, especially if you have a little arthritis or anything in your hands, Libre is going to be easier to insert because sometimes I am fighting that Dexcom G7 inserter, pushing the back button. And I know I'm not the only one because, I mean, sometimes just pushing that button is practically impossible. I don't know why, but, sometimes it takes quite a few tries, whereas Libre, it's always just been push it in and it's inserted. So I'd say that's super easy. I think you're right about, the bells and whistles and the alerts. If you need anything to alert you about potential low blood sugars, for example, well, it will alert you about low blood sugars. But if you don't need as much awareness about what's going on, then the alert profile on Freestyle Libre 3 Plus is actually pretty good. It has what it needs to have. It has a bare minimum.
Yeah. There's one thing I would also pinpoint like that I really liked about Libre 3 Plus, and that's because it's so tiny and thin. I feel like when you sleep on it, it will not have that frequent compression low problem like my Dexcom G6 has, for example. So when I lie on Dexcom G6, I will almost always get compression low. I don't know if I actually got compression load at night with Libre 3 Plus once. I don't recall, and I used it for 2 months. So I think that's a great benefit for someone who struggles with something like this. Okay, this might be maybe the reason to consider that sensor. And yeah, I just like how it looks. I really like it.
No, I actually agree. I did not have any compression loads either. I would say one thing, so we're all different, right? And after posting on social media for quite a few years, and I think you've had the same, some people will write me, they're like, Christelle, Dexcom G7 is never accurate for me. It falls off. It's an awful product. And I'm always like, okay, try Libre, because maybe that's going to work better for your body. Because I also have people reaching out to me, go like, Libre was the worst thing ever. It fell off. It gave me wrong. So, I mean, it really seems that for whatever reason, some devices just work better with some people's bodies. And this is just also the chemistry of it, I guess. And the other thing is, of course, some people are going to do better with a lot of alerts. Some people are going to do better with less. So I think there's a lot of, what works for you. Same thing with sensors falling off. So generally my Dexcom G7s do not fall off. They stick with the new glue. I mean, I have to fight to get them off, right? Some people say it falls off right away. They hardly get it off before. So I think it's also, if you have a little bit more oily skin, if you're a little hairy, sweat a lot, you might see that sensor falls off faster. And the same thing might go for Libre 3 Plus. And that makes me think, because Libre 3 Plus is not approved to be worn with an overlay tape. And I was reading up on it, and what they say is that there's a little hole in the top of the sensor. See if we can, yeah, that little hole there. You're not supposed to cover that, meaning that it actually makes it kind of challenging to put an overlay tape over. So there's two solutions to that, of course. One thing is just slap an overlay tape over anyway, even though it's covering. Or I don't know if there's any special products. Have you ever worn an overlay tape or have any experience with it?
Yeah.
The Libre?
Yeah. I mean, I do it. I always cover the hole. I know it's written somewhere that you should not do it, but I do it. And I'm not exactly the guy who follows the rules all the time. Actually, if there is if I just want to do something that's against the rule, unless, I'm hurting someone else, I just do it. Here, I'm just possibly hurting myself, but actually I didn't see any negative impact. So I just used this one for
Skin grip
3 Plus skin grip. We can put a link in the description, and that one covers it. Where did I put the sensor? Here. So that covers everything, including the hole. I know, in some of my videos a long time ago, I mentioned something along the lines, okay, the hole is there to kind of help with some kind of humidity or temperature changes around the sensor, but I'm not sure if it's actually true, to be honest. The more I investigated on it, the more I realized, okay, maybe it's just simply there because that's how the sensor gets in. Because every sensor has
and the needle goes in.
Dexcom also has a hole, Dexcom G7, because there is, when you have this all-in-one applicator, there needs to be a way for the needle to get under your skin and get the filament under your skin. I think that's the primary reason for the hole. Okay, maybe there's some additional features, but I personally just cover it, and you do you.
Okay.
No medical advice.
Conclude on that, no medical advice. But if somebody do tend to see their sensor start to peel, or they're afraid it's going to fall off, your experience is that, hey, the skin grip one actually works pretty well. That's my favorite overlay tape as well. It's the only one I use. Okay, cool. Good to know. Do you always wear it on the back of the arm? The loaded question.
These days, yes. I just I've been experimenting with many different placements, and these days I just wear it on the back of my arm. It's most convenient for me. I think it's accurate. I don't have a reason to wear it somewhere else. I with my older videos, you can look up on my channel. I place it in my thigh, my abdomen, my chest, even here in my forearm. Don't recommend. It was very painful. I also used the calf. I mean, all this kind of worked, but I don't know. I don't have any other reason to put it there. I just wanted to test it, see if it works, do a video. But these big
sticks, you tried on the calf.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
I didn't have any issues. I don't recall any issues with that one. But
could the Freestyle Libre anywhere else, have you?
I did. Definitely on my chest. By the way, I like chest a lot, and I know a lot of people like to put it on the chest, because that's where it's you never bump into something when it's on your chest.
Yes.
It's like, I think I'm very well protected there. Yeah, also thigh and abdomen. And I know that you use abdomen a lot with your Dexcom. So I guess that's...
But I haven't tried a Freestyle Libre there yet, but I will.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really like abdomen because I feel like it's just not the best place for me. It's like when I'm sweating a lot in that area under my t-shirt, and it's usually like peeling off more there, and I don't like that.
I know other women who do it, even with their like Omnipods. Okay, we're like way off topic here, but I've seen a lot of interesting placements, and some of them I'm like, go for it, and how awesome is it that you guys are so adventurous? But I don't know. Putting it on my chest, that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, it was nervous when I did it for the first time, but it's just like the arm. It doesn't hurt or anything. It's just it feels weird. Just like not in the muscle. It needs to be like in this top area where otherwise I think if it's, well, I think for women it's completely different, but for a man, if it's like too low, where the muscle is on the chest, it could hurt. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna take your word for it.
You should test it. That's a good video.
Yeah, on video. It's not the kind of content I make.
You can zoom the things that are not appropriate. No, blur, not zoom. Not zoom. Sorry, I wanted to say blur it. Embarrassing.
Righty then. But taking this back to a sober place. Yeah, no. Are you going to continue wearing it? Or are you like done with your test?
Libre 3 Plus, no, because I don't have any more, and I'm done with my test. And yeah, I just stick with what I have. It doesn't fit in my solution. Loop doesn't work with Libre because it has 3 Plus, because it has some additional like security, so it's impossible to really connect to it with the do-it-yourself solution that I have. So I just no. But if I was not looping, I don't see why I wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
Maybe the calibration.
I think there's a lot of factors, right? It also, especially in the States, come down to insurance coverage. So my insurance is right now covering Dexcom. They had at one point going like, they'll only cover Libre. And at that point, my Libre, this is a little while back, but at that point, my doctor was like, Libre is not good enough yet. So she kind of made the recommendation for me, and we kind of fought the insurance company on it. But I think a lot of people will be, what product they have will be dictated by the insurance company. If you do not get it through insurance, you still need a prescription in the States. You don't in the UK and Germany, I believe. Any other countries where you don't need a prescription?
In Germany, you don't.
Those two for now. Yeah. So in the States, you still need a prescription. But if you buy cash, there's a few things to know. I bought 2 sensors, so a month's supply, and that sent me back $180. That was with a coupon. So I found a coupon through GoodRx. Most people can't like fork out almost $200 a month for a CGM. So when I posted my last video, actually there was a woman who went on there and she commented, she's like, if you're a cash payer, call Abbott and they might be able to direct you to the right the right pharmacy and the right coupon. And she had gotten her monthly payment down to $75, which is, it's a pretty good price. It's still a lot of money, but it's way better than $180. So if anyone listening want to try that out. Another tip is to, again, you still need a prescription, but if you want to try it out, just see if it works for you. You can get a coupon for a free Freestyle Libre 3 Plus on Abbott's website. Just go and download the coupon and go to a pharmacy with your prescription and pick it up. Free, like free stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know in Germany you can buy it, but I think most countries you need a prescription.
Yeah.
Every country is different, and don't want to get too deep into that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But I think one more thing we should just highlight is like what insulin pumps are compatible. We didn't talk much about the insulin pump integration, but I think it's important for many people who are on Libre and now Libre 3 Plus and have insulin pump or are considering. There's now more and more pumps that you can use. In Europe, My Life Loop with Ipso pump, the CAM APS algorithm, which is a very good algorithm. This has worked in many countries in Europe for some time, even with Libre 3, not Libre 3 Plus. I don't know how it's possible, but it was the case. Now it's working with Libre 3 Plus as well. I think that's a good combo because I know that the pump and the algorithm is very good. And then in the US, you have iLet, right? iLet insulin pump from Beta Bionics, approved for integration with this one. And then Twist from Sequel MedTech. And then also Tandem T-Slim is now approved, I think, since June in the US, and then later on it will scale in the other countries. But Mobi, Omnipod 5, not yet. Those only work with Libre 2 Plus. But I think at some point they will also move to Libre 3 Plus. I think we can say that. So there's more and more options, which I think is great. It's really great.
It's a little weird when you go in and look at, hey, which pumps, and then Libre 2 Plus will connect, but Libre 3 Plus won't. I was like, I wonder if there's also some approval, mechanism they need to go through with the FDA in order to get it to market here in the States. And things just take time, right? I think they're all working towards that because it's in everyone's interest that we get more integration.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it's always the insulin pump companies who have to do the work after the CGM has the iCGM designation, I think. So Libre 3 Plus have it. So any insulin pump company that wants to integrate, they need to just work their solution with their software. I guess it's not easy from what I heard. No idea.
Yeah.
No idea what exactly they need to do, but it just takes time. And Libre 2 Plus, by the way, is not very different from Libre 3 Plus. It's like mainly the form factor. It's bigger. But other than that, it's very, very similar in terms of like you can use the same app, the new app, and yeah, very similar.
I wonder why they keep both of them. Why don't they just get rid of 2 Plus? Well, I mean, I guess that integrates with some insulin pumps now, so they can't really just get rid of that part of the portfolio.
Yeah, good. I don't know. Maybe also the manufacturing lines you have, because they have, I think, I can imagine the form factor. You will have some sort of like a machine that's making these sensors, spitting out, hundreds of sensors. And when you have a machine for Libre 2 Plus, for Libre 2, size, it probably cannot easily make now Libre 3s. I don't know if it's a different machine. Maybe someone knows who's watching. Let us know in the comments. Do you need a new production line for that, or how does it work? No, I'm really curious how these things work. Because I think you can program the software, but when you have different size of the sensor, you need to change how you manufacture it.
Yeah, sidetrack. Anyway, okay, so I think the conclusion for me, at least, and anyone watching most of my videos also know this, is I'm sticking with Dexcom for now. But I'm not hating on it at all. I think it just has some of the same issues that all the sensors have. And I think I was a little unlucky in the 4 that I tried to have one that was completely bunkers and one that fell off.
No, I'm not hating on Freestyle Libre 3 Plus either. I think it's a great product. It's it's a great fit for many people. It's better than any version that they made before. So that's amazing. I also love the new campaign that Libre has on social media. So I think it's really well done. Like this guy with the labels on him. I don't know if you saw it. I think that's a really good one. I don't remember the name. Maybe we can put it in the description link.
Well, the story is that he goes through life, right? He goes through life, and everywhere he's met with some sort of stigma, and that stigma sticks to him in the form of like labels.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a words matters. It's good. It's a powerful one. I agree.
Have we forgot anything? Have we covered everything we wanted to? I think so as well.
I think so. I should say I'm going to continue wearing at least, I think, 3 or 4 more of the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus, because I do want to try out different placements. I'm not going to go crazy because I can't. Mentally just can't. But I definitely want to try it out on the stomach. I want to try it out on my thigh. So those are my 2 favorite like off-label Dexcom placements. And then I'm going to see if I can be a little bit more adventurous with the 3rd or 4th placement. But yeah.
I think you should go with the chest. Chest is best.
Okay. And I'll be in the video be like, Tom told me to do this. Nah. Yeah. No, so that's my plan. But yeah, I'll do that in the next few months. I'm currently traveling as well. I don't really have access to them. To your point, if you're not in the States, it can be a little harder to get access to it if you want to use it with the new app. Also, if you buy it, so that's actually another interesting point, because somebody was reaching out to me saying, hey, I'm in Europe for the summer. I don't have any more CGMs left. Can I buy it locally? And I'm like, you can buy it again in Germany and England without a prescription. However, it's going to be hardwired to be a millimole per liter, not a milligram per deciliter. So that means you're not going to see the numbers that you're used to. So it's just something to be mindful of if you decide to branch out and try to get it from somewhere else.
Yeah. So in Germany, they actually do use milligrams per deciliter. In the UK, they use millimoles. In Switzerland, we use millimoles. It's like, it's not the whole Europe using millimoles.
Yeah.
But I think also another issue is with the US app or US account will not work with European sensors. So you would need a new account created in Europe, a new app downloaded, which is the European app or the German app or wherever you buy it, and it's just a lot of hassle. So it's like more like an emergency thing to do, but it's not fun.
I guess the German app is also going to be in German, right?
I think the language is not a problem. You can switch that to English.
Oh, you can? Okay.
It's more the actual app is different.
Gotcha. Okay. Any?
No, I think this was a great conversation. I had a lot of fun. I hope that the listeners and you also. And it was fun to learn about your experience and some new things from you as always.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was. I laughed more in this podcast than I have in a while, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I apologize if I was a little bit slow because I was super jet lagged after my flight yesterday. But thanks everyone who was tuning in. If you liked this conversation, give us a like, subscribe to our channel Diabetes Unlocked on YouTube or Spotify, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.